Welcome to the Rise podcast. As you know that Rise is all about going through the journey of self-discovery to find your authenticity. It's about embracing your limitless nature, and I've had a couple of guests that have shown exactly that. But today I have a dear friend and a limitless person that I'd like to introduce at this podcast, Raaj Rao. Raj, just to give a short introduction about you, you know, you've had a multifaceted journey from engineer to film director, producer, dance choreographer, fight choreographer, the list goes on and on and on. The limitless nature of how you've gone from one path in life to the other is something that we'd like to discuss because the journey of Rise is all about embracing your true authentic self, which is limitless. It's all about going through different phases of life.
Correct.
So I'd like for you to talk a bit more, but just to give a short introduction, your film Calling, short film, has garnered over 15 international, not over, it's 15 only, right?
15 for now, 15 and counting. Yeah.
Your short film Calling has garnered 15 international film festivals, including a coveted Best Actor nomination at the World Film Festival at Cannes, underscoring your exceptional talent and visionary storytelling.
Thank you.
Could you please tell the audience a bit more about that?
It's a psychological drama that was inspired by my own story, a struggle of, say, 3.5, 4 years put into 15 minutes of a film. And there was never an intention to make this into a movie, but the opportunity presented itself when I sort of got out of the situation. And then I said, no, the story has to be told, not told for personal glory, but it's a universal language. Not speaking too much about the film, but it's a universal story, a universal language that I'm trying to put out, language of self-discovery, catharsis, a struggle. And why I say psychological, because we live in our heads, right? Everything is internal, like we keep talking, right? Nothing's external. External is just a projection of what happens on the inside. And my meaning of doing anything, like the wonderful introduction you gave for me as well, is we're always exploring and expanding. But in some way, whatever we do and the gifts we have it's a gift. It's to be given. It's to be shared with the world. So whatever I create in any form of film production, whether it's in front or behind the camera, is to affect the audience correctly. And recently, of course, the film did well. Very happy. We also did a screening recently a private screening for a few industry people. Without us approaching them, for the rest of the week after the screening, people wrote their own reviews of the film to us, saying how the film affected them. And I think that is bigger than anything else, because the intention of making this movie was that it should affect people the way it has to affect people. Some of them came up and said, I didn't know that I'm going to be seeing my own life on screen. So, I'm very happy for the film's journey so far.
That is beautifully done and said, because I think it is so important in this time and age for us to know who we truly are. And it's all about reflecting on that aspect of ourselves to
Absolutely.
be able to stand, regardless of the projections that we receive from people, regardless of the likes you get, your intent to affect people's life on such deep levels, to get them to reflect on their own life. That is amazing. And that's why you're here. And
Thank you.
That's what I would want people to know more of. You were born and raised in Abu Dhabi.
Born and raised.
So you are a local kid like myself who's from Dubai. How do you think that affected the way you deal with life or look at life? Has it been more open to be creative, to express yourself? Or did you think that you had certain blockages going down that path?
I would say that when I moved out of UAE to study, wherever I've traveled and stuff, I was always very thankful to mom, and in fact to dad. And I would tell mom, we should thank dad. The dad chose UAE of all places when he moved out of India and he wanted to settle his life and find new jobs and stuff. Because I think you would agree, us being UAE kids, because of how beautiful the country is, it's still a baby. It's just 50 years, but we grew up in a place where everyone was one. There was no differentiation between people. People celebrated everything together.
Correct.
Yeah, we grew up in a place where we never felt different. We always felt that we belonged, and we were welcoming at the same time. Yeah, we grew up in a place where we welcomed people and we were one. So in terms of that way, I am very grateful that I saw. I was born or raised in an environment that was accepting and inclusive. That's my version of my life in UAE and my parents' life for the past since 1982. They've been here. And in terms of creative aspect, personally, it was a struggle. Not because I was in UAE, but the decision of moving from engineering into getting into acting, which my mum knew, my dad also knew, wasn't in favor of, because it's the road less traveled. He was concerned, but at that time it was just a flat out no. And when dad says no, you don't question. But mom was always for it. But she said, take care of your education and everything. But again, since I held on to this dream since the age of 8, I was always watching the interviews of stars before they became a star. And more often than not, each story was all hell broke loose when we told them that we wanted to get into acting. So when it reached a stage when I wanted to break the news at home, they understood that enough was enough. He's not too focused on what he's doing because he finds more happiness there. And there was no fight. In fact, they came and said, okay, go ahead and let's do it,
Yeah, and the one important aspect of what you mentioned is the loving yourself aspect to take your decisions,
my God,
regardless of what anyone says. I mean, we do respect our elders, and the generation that we've been in, we've actually gone through 3 to 4 different generations in our lifetime because of how fast life has changed, how people have evolved. Following your heart is the part I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. This is the challenge that most of us fear. If I follow my heart, what if I fail? But what if you don't? Is the example we have right in front of us.
Thank you.
Someone that has gone through engineering to an actor, to a director, producer. I mean, the list goes on. I don't even want to get too much into it because that is the embodiment of our limitless nature, of what we all can be. What can you tell people watching right now? How to embrace that limitless, multifaceted aspect of yourself that they can adopt?
I would say, again, think from your heart and less from the mind. And I think because of the programming that we're in, that the programs that are built into us, generational programs built into us through grandparents, then it transcends, goes into parents and parents to us, is to live in a very safe life, which I'm not saying is, to be very honest, when I decided to quit and follow acting, it wasn't the right decision at the right time. If I would have made a more informed decision, I would have taken some time to quit. But I quit only because spiritually I was not there. I was like, every day was a struggle with who I am. And like you very well put, is self-love. Now, self-love sounds very indulgent, self-indulgent, but if you're not filling your own cup and you start pouring your water into somebody else's cup, you're going to run dry. And when you run dry, what happens? You're going to blame the people whose cup you filled, which is not right. Right? Your journey, your struggle is not your parents' responsibility, not your siblings' responsibility, not your partner's responsibility. Nobody's. It's yours. And you are your own individual the moment you set foot into this earth. You come with your own knowledge and stuff. So find out what is it that keeps you happy. Fodder, feed it, grow it. And as much as possible, don't take yourself too seriously. Because I went through the journey of who am I? Taking myself too seriously. And when I did, I was hurt a lot more because my ego was growing in not the right way. A good ego is you set boundaries. Bad ego is, why is it happening to me? Why me? Victim. I went through all of that because no one in my family other than my cousin who was into makeup in Bollywood has ventured into this field. And I was the first engineer of the family. So there was just this, what do you call it? False bracket of being the golden boy, always, good in studies, well-behaved, everything. I wanted to know who the guy is outside this bracket. So there was a sort of an identity crisis for a very long time. What stayed consistent from finding out who that guy is and who Raj is I was always putting more fuel into my dream of being an actor. So whether it's on stage dancing, it's art or painting, it's elocution, slowly finding out about meditation, manifestation, everything was around that dream. So if you take time every day to find out who you are, not who society thinks you are, and not who you are as a result of what people have treated you as, just the authentic self. Who are you? And you bring that authenticity out, nothing's like it. Yeah.
Well, the way you articulately say things, it's funny that you're not a motivational speaker. Well, you are
I
actually.
kind of
Exactly.
am.
So that's another aspect of you, which is about following your dreams to be able to inspire others. Now, you had a dream at the age of 8 to become an actor. I want to talk a bit more about that as well, because, can you share some of your earliest inspirations of what fueled your passion for acting during those formative years? Because, I mean, as an Indian, there's always this thing about becoming a hero or an actor, and as the first thing, because we're really in that culture, it's ingrained into us. But what was it for you as your authentic self? I'm sure it was some aspect of you that said, or a little voice said, you deserve more than where you're at. And you took that child's dream as an adult and fulfilled it, and are probably going to go through various more stages in your life to become even bigger and better.
Thank you.
Tell us a bit more about that.
Very nice question. Age of 8 was because of Michael Jackson. Saw him, not saw him. I wish I saw him physically, but it was through television, and he just pops up on stage and just stands there for 2 minutes, and the entire crowd goes crazy. And something in me said I wanted that, at the age of 8. And I was always drawn to the larger than life experience, the hero, the superhero, the Superman, always in that world of where strength was strength of 10 men, fly faster than the speed of the bullet. Dance like everyone's watching you. So anything in the superlative was something I was attracted to. And constantly in my house, mom and dad were also movie buffs. If there's no movie playing on the television, there's songs playing. And dad was a party person. He would, be the first one on the dance floor. So I was always surrounded by entertainment. And so that's what watching my heroes like Michael Jackson, and then there was Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Akshay Kumar, Sunil Shetty growing up. Then came Hrithik Roshan, my idol mentor. He was sort of the physical manifestation of who I wanted to be without knowing that what it is. But for everybody, right? So from 2000 up until now, very faithfully, I study him. I try to understand him, his journey, whatever we get to see, whatever we get to know and stuff. So the dancing came from Michael Jackson and Hrithik and Justin Timberlake and, all of that. And the physicality came from Hrithik's inspiration. I think we all hit the gym because of him.
Of course.
Started hitting the gym pretty early.
Learned how to dance.
Hours
of practice, of course.
Yeah,
Yes.
hours and hours of practicing and stuff. And I was always on stage dancing or in parties, and I'm pushed onto the dance floor. And so that entire inspiration was always me watching actors perform. And like I said, I would read their interviews in magazines or when I'm watching them on TV to understand their personality without thinking, yes, I want to be an actor, but I'm not putting myself there. There was that thing. I'm watching them with starry eyes, but I'm listening to every conversation. Little did I know that a few years later, I'm going to be here talking about my journey. It was a wish, but not so strong, So I think it built over the years.
Of course, and that's the physical manifestation of what we truly set out to the universe.
Yep.
It basically speaks out to us
Yes.
in whispers, and how do we call this, in rhymes about what we're meant to do. That innate voice is something that is ingrained into part of our spiritual beliefs, because
Correct.
when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we always look at ourselves less than because of the programming, how it's been. Especially as part of the entertainment side of the business, because I've dibbled and dabbled into it. Haven't had the best experiences, but I still enjoyed the journey. I met some amazing people, had amazing conversations, because it was for me also, why am I being sent here? Yes, I would like to be an actor. I would like to be in front of the camera. People have said that I have a quality that needs to be shown. But at the same time, I think that I was also there to witness what people go through and the masks they have to wear, to fit in. As part of being a star, you can't say certain things, you can't be a certain way, you can't have bad habits shown because you're influencing so many people. I personally feel it's about being a good human being.
Absolutely.
And going down to that is the spiritual beliefs that you've had and how you've used that as a significant role in your life and at work. How do these beliefs influence your approach in filmmaking, role as an actor, a director, and the list goes on?
It went from trying to be somebody else to just being me. And that took the longest time. Now it's about 15 years since I jumped into acting. From going through acting school was in 2010. The longest time, I think, 2017 is when I completely went into acting, where I quit my second job as a health and safety instructor. I think I only found my true self after COVID. Up until then, my performances, my voice, my way of dressing, my acting was always trying to get acceptance from others. I wanted to prove myself, but I wasn't me. Even though I ventured completely into acting, my performances were very, I was more theatrical because I wanted to prove myself. In Hindi, there's a term called "therav," right? It's that very the what do you call it? Subdued, not subdued, very internal confidence that you have. That your vibe is louder. The vibe of confidence is louder. The performance is different. The way you speak is different. You're not shouting. You're not trying to get acceptance from people. That took the longest time because we are in a field which is pretentious. We are in a field where we have to wear a mask. Even now, this is the mask of an actor who's talking to you. This is the mask of a performer who's talking to you. This is the mask of a dream chaser who's talking to you. There is another Raj which is off camera, which only very few people know. You are yourself, but you should also accept that you can have different sides to you. You cannot show your 100% to everybody because we live in society. It's not because of fear of judgment, but you should keep different sides. And when you keep different sides, you draw boundaries. But if I was an open book before, kind of still am, but if open book to a level where I didn't know how to, filter the people of my life. I was, I think, a little bit too welcoming. And then slowly I learned with people around me how to reduce the unwanted rubbish around you because it's not helping you spiritually. Energy leechers are around you. They only want you when they think they want you. You get used. So I think two things were happening at the time when I ventured into acting and finding out who I am. So yeah, now today the person that you see is still learning who he really is, but he's more towards authenticity than being fake.
So well said. And I always believe that if you're being nice, you're actually kind without boundaries. But when you're being kind, you're nice with boundaries.
Yes.
Where you sort of choose and pick where that comes to. That's another aspect of Rise, which is about knowing your worth. Self-worth is another part of our journey towards becoming our true authentic self. But, we've had a conversation in depth prior, and I know about your intent with what you do is also the commitment to uplifting women.
Yeah.
With what you do. I would like for you to know this because the mass media has always provocated the fact that men are like, I don't need a man. I think that's what was the fall of our society. It should have said, I don't need a abusive man or an abusive person. But the conversations we've had, you have a very healthy perception of women and how strong they are. And also with the movies that you've made, it's generally the women that end up getting the awards. Could you please tell the audience a bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, it is the women in my life, especially the two women in my life who are super strong. And it goes beyond physically strong. They're just emotionally, spiritually far more evolved. And I'm always learning. And even when growing up also, other than mom, there was my teacher as well, who was another figure of she got the attention only because she stood for who she is. So the women, my grandmothers, both my grandmothers, all the women around me were my inspirations. So growing up, I never, in fact, I had to build my male energy a lot more because of fear. Feminine energy was so much more stronger, which is the strength of resilience. It's a character of resilience. It's a character of just doing it, not thinking. It has to be done. It has to be done. And yeah, speaking about the films that I did, the 4 films that I wrote and directed, without thinking while writing, not like I'm writing, no, I have to portray the women in the right way. The women in the characters have to be the strongest or the main protagonist or whatever. It was just written. And inevitably, the actors that I chose for the film knocked it out of the park. And the 2 awards that we got was Best Actress for both the films. Natalia got about 4 awards for Calling and Counting. And I put Work in Progress, another film with Shreya Samuels, powerhouse of an actor. And again, like I said, the intention wasn't there to portray them in a strong light. They just were authentic, powerful, beautiful women who performed. And I think it's a result of the ingrained programming in me of how strong women are. So, yeah, I mean, I don't understand when there's an inequality. I don't understand when there is you need to prove. I mean, I think equality comes in. You let each gender flourish in their 100% authenticity without having to compare or race with each other and stuff. I think that's how it's been. They have been my biggest support, the women in my life. And yeah, I think growing up, I was a lot more closer to the cousins or the teachers and everyone because I gravitate towards stronger people. Maybe only because I had to learn how to be myself. I think everyone's a reflection of you.
Of course.
So even though someone's character, success, is far ahead of you is because you've put yourself out there, if I'm making sense. And that person could be in the form of a woman, could be in the form of a man. But it's you, your successful self is bringing you these people. So you learn from that, so you gravitate towards them.
Correct. And I'm on that same journey as well, because I've gone through life being more of an observer of situations. And I realized the more I started to know my own value, my own worth, is when I started to attract like-minded individuals. And the conversation we had, I mean, apart from the fact that we're twinning right now, there is a lot of similarities in the way we think. I learned predominantly how to be a man by looking at the women around me.
Yes.
How to be the protective person, regardless of the abuse that they've probably gone through in life. And I think that's where it comes down to, which is another aspect of Rise, releasing trauma. Right? Which is something that we're so afraid of. Now, being an actor or a director in the film industry for so long, on how you fulfilled your dreams, you have to know the spectrum of your emotions, and
Absolutely.
you constantly keep challenging that. Whereas we look at the world and today, where people are so afraid of being their authentic selves because they don't know the spectrum of their emotions and what it can bring them. And as an actor, I think we all are actors playing a role. Right?
As Shakespeare rightly said.
Exactly, you rightly said so. But it's also about embodying that light and dark facet of our personality. You rightly said that, you have to wear a mask when you're on screen in front of people.
Yeah.
For me, at some point, I sort of let go of that mask completely because I was like, I'm supposed to be embracing who I am, and nothing can change me based on what happens around. I'm an observer. I'm still going to be who I am in this process. Whilst, yes, if I have to play a role, then that's a different thing. Then you embody that character, you embody that person, but that's because you've embodied that emotion within you. That's another aspect of it. But, when you see today about how women have had to suppress themselves for so long that they pretty much don't know how to express their emotions and are frustrated. When it's all about co-creation. I mean, I always say that, if you're not here to live together, build together, what are we really here for?
Absolutely.
But the journey teaches us a lot of things.
It's not a race.
It's not a race. It's a journey, right? And that's, again, you've experienced a good level of fame and success recently after your movie. You've managed to ground yourself, and it doesn't show with you. There is no arrogance that comes through.
Really? Are you sure?
I'm 100% sure. I can see past because you're also on that path of self-development. How can you be inspirational and arrogant at the same time? It doesn't sort of go together. But you embody that inspiration. So you're more like that beacon to inspire people. And I know that for people that have always wanted to explore being in entertainment, this is the director to go to. This is the producer to go to, because he's going to help you embody that authenticity, embody that part of you, because you've been through life's journey. I'm sure it hasn't been easy with everything that we've gone through. Because your spiritual beliefs, your strength, that force to be reckoned with, actually shows in your energy, in your presence. You don't have to be loud in doing that, but that has been learned over time. Tell us a bit more about that.
Very well said. Diamonds come from pressure and from coal. Coal is considered to be dirty, because it's that, but it's only through the pressure that a diamond emerges. And I'm not saying I'm a diamond at all, right? But I consider myself someone who is constantly wanting to improve. I don't sit on my laurels for too long, but also I'm trying to learn to try and appreciate the little things that happens, because I'm always trying to okay, what more kind of thing. But especially when you're in, maybe any field, but I just speak for us in the field of art, spirituality, they run hand in hand. Acting, directing, everything is a spiritual process. Now, your initial question was the spectrum of emotions. So we learned something in Anupam Kher's Actor Prepares is the actor's arsenal is observation skills of anybody. You could be a cow tomorrow, you could be a table, a chair, a woman, you can be whatever the script demands you to be. That's number one, because you're a tool. You're not a human being on a set. You're the tool of the script. That's number one. Second thing is emotional memory. Actors, it's a very psychological process because we should not have any of our doors shut. It could be some trauma, but you pick that, not trauma, anything, any memory, experience, and you take something from there and you put it into your kitty of what you will try and take out as a performance. So you don't keep any doors that are shut. So acting is not just something that you come on and just perform. The camera is the eyes of the audience. and it's transparent, right? It's for us, our eyes are windows to the soul. That's the windows to the audience, the camera. So when you're performing, the camera will show if it's fake or not. So the actual emotions come in when you really go in and tap. So it's a very internal experience. Same thing with the mind. It's a mental gym. Acting is also, it's a mental, physical gym where you need to look after your entire self. So, and thank you for your kind words of saying not getting into was not the success, not getting into my head. Consciously, that happens. One is I remind myself, and very importantly, my inner circle keeps me grounded to a level where if I am not focused towards my dream, they whip me in place. The complacency can come in. There are moments you're not inspired. To the outside world, you're killing it, but internally, you're like, oh no, it's not enough. Or you reach like what do they say? People go through this depression when they come back from a holiday. They had a great time and now they're back, and then it takes them 3-4 days to get back to normalcy.
Post-holiday blues.
Yes. Yeah, post-holiday blues. Same thing happens with creativity also. You have laurels, like when we won the first 6 awards. It didn't affect me. I told everyone. It took me 2-3 days for it to hit me, like, what just happened? So I think maybe because that's my inherent nature. But at the same time, when you're in this field, and I'm still learning, is what's important is to value who you are. Value who you are as a person, and value your time, and value what you bring to the table. And you don't bring to the table the 1 hour of booking time. You bring to the table the 10 years of experience. And in that 10 years is that where you're constantly chipping the edges off of what doesn't serve you. So there's a lot of reading involved, there's meditation, there's workout, good conversations with good people like yourself, making sure that inner circle is energizing you and not draining you. Yeah. So that's
reciprocity. And I think
reciprocity.
People always use spirituality as a personality type. And I've always advocated against that. For me, we are all spiritual beings having a human experience.
Absolutely.
You choose whether it's your gifts that come out as a tool, as we're used as actors, as directors, or you become twisted, where you take advantage of that. And I'm sure that, a lot of people right now have misconstrued the word manifestation with manipulation. Or manipulation with manifestation. The more attractive you are, the more you can manipulate your way into things and call it manifesting.
Yeah.
What is your advice? Because you not only use your experience and channeled it to inspire others, but you also speak your truth. And for me personally, the most spiritual thing you can do is speak your truth.
Absolutely.
Right? Without being afraid, regardless of what society would think, what happens after that. Think loving yourself and living in a frequency of fear don't go hand in hand.
No.
You have to be in one frequency. Yes, we go through spectrums, but where is your standard frequency? And that's the conversation, because when you're tapped in to your spirituality, you can read the energy in the room.
Absolutely.
And you feel it. You can feel heaviness. You can feel all blockages. But, because I'm able to read energy in people of how tapped in I am, I feel like you're so much in flow.
Yeah.
What is your secret to be at flow? What kind of practices do you do to be in that flow state?
Okay, I will still use the word manipulate, but don't manipulate, but understand that you can tread the path and weave your way through a situation. Like before I walk into a room, I'm talking to myself that every inch of this room loves me. And I throw magical dust in this room that only positive, empowering energy comes to me. Or, people are drawn to me naturally and they learn something from me, I learn something from them. Also, understand that if you're in a room and you're really shining really well, you're shining with all your power, and there are some people who just get up and go. It's not because you're speaking rubbish, but they can't vibe at your level. Again, it's not going into a boastful space, but it's going to a space that the fireflies go towards the light. So, so if you are the light, be the light. Wherever you go, shine the light on people. Because it's not just me talking to you. I'm learning from you right now. As you're talking, I'm listening. And while I'm talking, I'm also listening. So there's always a constant learning. And those who want to fit into that space will automatically fit. Those who have to fall out will fall out. That's about it. So, and the other thing about you're saying about you can't manipulate and you can't have the energy of, sort of two ends of the spectrum is, there's the only one person you can't be dishonest with on this planet is yourself. So there is a voice that's telling you if you are bullshitting someone or if you're not. And there's a second thing for that to keep you in check. It's called karma. It will come. It'll come and bite you in places you don't want to be bitten.
When you least expect it.
When you least expect it. Right. So manipulating your way to get your things done and just, enjoying your instant gratification is, some way or the other, it's going to bite you.
And it's short-lived.
It's short-lived.
It's only for the time being. We don't look at the long-term results. But I think people don't always want to manipulate. There are people that are living in fear, and fear is what causes them to
situations. Yeah, situations Correct. Forces them to do so.
Correct.
And it's a massive patience game. There are times where I just don't want to manifest. I don't want to meditate. I don't want people to talk to me with positivity. I don't want to read a single book. I'm literally at it with the universe. Like I'm going blows after blows with the universe. But what's important is to let it out. If you're angry, you're upset, you don't want to do the manifestations, the affirmations, the meditation, don't do it. No one's ticking boxes for you. Okay, did you meditate? No. What is important is to, like they say, meditation is not clearing your mind. It's focusing on one thing. Either the breath, I can be open to you now, and if I'm paying attention to you, I'm in this moment, that's meditation, right? So meditation is just being in the moment, and that could be anything, listening to good music and just listening to the music. It's not clearing your mind. No one can, not no one, it's very, very difficult until you reach a stage of, being a master, it goes shut, but it's never shut. So if I am thinking of 10 different things right now when you're talking to me, I am not respecting this time, I'm not respecting you, I'm not respecting my own energies. Right. So I think if you can manipulate it to your favor, where you're not harming anyone or you're not harming yourself, then that manipulation is okay. But don't manipulate to get your things done by harming somebody else's energy. It's going to bounce back.
Yeah, I love the way we talk in flow state, because I do believe, yes, we always have to manipulate, but you manipulate the energy.
Yeah.
So you alchemize, you transcend any negative projections onto
You're an alchemist. You are changing things. You are changing, yeah.
Right. And I feel that we're always manifesting, though. It's not an active process. I'm going to close my eyes and now manifest.
We just got to know the term.
Exactly.
We're always, whether it was chocolates when you were kids or...
Correct. And, sometimes we don't like what we're manifesting, but that's because of what the mind is thinking. And I believe that as the journey that you've been through, right? It's all about embracing your true authentic self, which is beyond the ego. It's beyond being in the head. And I think the younger generation today feel lost. They're disconnected from a lot of things, because when you're a child and you've been given an iPad, and because your parents don't want to give you attention because they themselves are on their phone, we call it TikTok brains today, where people don't have the attention span for more than 3 seconds, which is what we used to compare.
That's affecting us content creators. Correct. Or directors, that if you don't catch them in the first 1 or 2 seconds, it's gone.
Correct.
So it's a good thing in a way.
But for us, creativity challenges you to captivate. But I think, and I know, and I can truly say to anyone who's listening this, when you speak from the heart, it actually transcends quantum realms.
Yeah.
They may not listen to you now, it may not go, but somewhere, sometime, maybe a week, maybe a year from 10 years, that message will hit them and they start to open their heart, right? How did you, in this journey, with all the setbacks that you must have had, keep that open heart, regardless of what you were going through?
Without knowing, I kept the child inside me alive. There was something that internally, that innocent young child who's still searching was kept alive. So I think the ego didn't come up. I was always very open, always helping other people and stuff, without the intention of having to always be the good person. But also, to my downfall, I didn't know how to keep boundaries because of that. But even now, even till today, it's the child in me is still alive. And I will always keep that, because I think as children, you're most receptive to the universe. You don't come with preconceived notions. You are always learning, you're always questioning, you're always trying to understand, you're in a state of wonder. So I always want to try and be, a certain part of me should always be in that state of wonder. Because if you know all the questions, like you're saying about the kids of today, they're so opinionated because they've got access to more than enough. And they think they know it. Whereas I think the moment you start asking questions, you rewire your brain differently. You're ready to learn something different. But if you're like, no, this is how it's supposed to be, not. So it could be anything. If you're open to discussions, be open to discussions. Be open, be expansive. You don't have to be constricted. Have a healthy debate. It's fine. So I think I was always questioning stuff. Even like when I was curious, like age of 8, I wanted to be an actor. But I think just the year after that, I think my parents took me for my first cinema experience with Mohra was the Hindi film. And on the way back, when we were going to go and pick up some pizza to eat, mom and dad are like, "How was the movie?" I said, "Oh, great. It was on big screen. I loved it." But where do you think the cameras were kept in this particular scene? How many people were behind and they're just absolute dead silence. And I'm just looking outside the window wondering, how was that scene shot? Was the actor shy, not shy? And I'm 8, 9 years old, but I think I was growing up way quickly in my head. But I was always questioning stuff, questioning things about space, history, conspiracy theories. All these things fascinate me. So I think inherently my programming was, I don't just believe what I see. I'm always trying to explore something new. And that's how I think The Secret landed on my lap in 2009. Didn't know what that was. And now today people think that I've swallowed the entire book. I just speak pages and pages of it, only because my friends taught me what it was. We were at a petrol station filling fuel in Abu Dhabi, Cornish. And my friend is like, "Bro, can you see that sunglasses over there? And we don't have to get up. We just keep thinking about the sunglass. Someone's going to get up and give it to us." And I'm looking at him like, "Bro, what have you had? What do you mean?" And now today I profess manifestation, only because it's beyond the logical programming of what has been taught to us, that you have to work hard to get something. You don't have to work hard. You have to work hard on yourself. You get not what you want, you get what you are. That's what I feel. Yeah.
Correct. And so rightly said. I mean, part of the intention of hosting Rise was to allow that inner child to express, be curious once again, be creative, and not feel judged in the process of actually having to convey and express. Because if we didn't come here to convey and express what we're meant to, then what's the point of really being here?
True.
If that's how it's like you have love for someone, but you don't want to say it. I remember one of my exes telling me that I will love you more than you'll ever know and more than I'll ever show. And at that point, I was like, wow, this is deep. To a point where I was like, this makes no sense. What's the point of being in that relationship? But I think when you look at the category of relationships that we have between man and a woman, we're so afraid of being our true self because we know within ourselves we're not good enough. But that's because that inner child was suppressed.
Yeah.
We allowed ourselves to suppress, forgetting that we're now adults, grown enough, strong enough to protect that inner child from going through anything.
Yeah.
But it's that innate feeling of feeling safe. And I think that's what's very important, is to keep a good set of people around you that allow that inner child to come out. Dream.
Exactly.
Because I believe that dreams, and correct me if you have a different opinion on this, I think dreams were implanted in us for a reason.
Yeah.
We were meant to, could have been past lives, could have been something that we were meant to show the world. But yet, if we didn't follow our dreams, for example, the Wright brothers, they dreamt about us being able to fly. If they followed what other people told them, we wouldn't have planes today.
No.
Right?
Exactly.
But that's how it works, that the crab mentality in human beings, because of low vibrational societal pressures, where people are living with a wounded inner child, regardless of the age. Because I've seen even an 80-year-old act like a child when they don't get their way, as opposed to, being able to open and embrace. And I'm all for us working through ourselves, because how it works is when you're able to go within, tap into some trauma, understand why you had that, you've actually done the work for the next generations of your lineage to come.
Massively.
Right? But people are so afraid to look within.
Yeah. Because they say, when I was learning theta healing, is your DNA stores 7 generations of information, and 1 generation is taken as 30 years. So it's about 200 years of information inside of you. And you've carried that on from ancestors into your DNA. Now we're going into another space altogether. That should be another episode. But the reason I'm saying is what you said is correct. Find out what that root cause was, and you will delete all the other files. Yeah, you have to run that antivirus again and again in the software of your spiritual experience. It's not the body, also the body's shape, the body's aches, the diseases, everything is an emotional reason. Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, thanks to Tina, she had introduced that book to me, is that everything stems from an emotional reason. Yeah, we didn't have many doctors back in the day. I'm talking about years and years, centuries ago. Not to say that the diseases have increased since then, but I'm saying back then we could heal ourselves. We've forgotten that. Ours is all quick fix. We're in a quick fix thing right now. But how many people actually sit? In fact, I believe what we should do is everyone should write a letter to the younger self, saying that it's okay, that day will pass, and I'm here right now to tell you I'm breathing and I'm alive. I'm 20 years after what you're going through, so that's not big. It's just something tiny. Get over it. But again, would you have wanted to change anything in your past? Yes, many people said yes, but it leads you to who you are unless you're learning.
Even the mistakes, of
Yeah,
course.
even mistakes. It was mistakes back then, but it's a learning. You're either winning or you're learning.
But then the distraction is what stops us from looking and introspecting on that mistakes that are made, right? Being an attractive man, I'm sure that, and being in the industry you're in, you get a lot of attention.
You're very good for my ego, man.
That's fine. It's only to boost it up because
you.
I know
No,
that
yeah.
I know that it doesn't affect you really. At the end of the day, it's all about us knowing ourselves truly, and that is what this essence is. We are an essence, right? Which is what we're here to show the world, the gifts that we have, the way you communicate, the way you inspire, the way you do the things that you do. Now, out of this multifaceted persona that you hold, which is your favorite?
Which is my favorite among motivating people. Above all. If you talk about skill, acting, of course, but above everything is to just make someone feel happy, motivate them in some way or the other. I don't know why, and I don't want to know why, because if I know why, I might stop. So I think I'm just going to keep motivating, affecting people the right way. And it's inherent in me. It's that insatiable thing of leaving this place better than I found it, or leaving a person better than I found them in some way or the other. Even if they don't turn around and say a thank you, but in some way I'm like, okay, I'm all ears. I'm a good listener. So, I think it's just above all is to just motivate people, inspire people. Like even today, we were at another podcast and we were trying to choose some music. And and the guy who was running the podcast was like, "Oh, you like epic music?" I said, "Yeah, I love everything about winning. I love the underdog story. I love the inspirational film, the sports movies, the martial arts films. It's all a story of a person who goes through several stages of getting beaten, broken down, but emerging a champion. So I feel there's a champion in everybody. And if I can do anything to help that champion rise, why not? Rise.
Rise it is. And I know the audience is waiting to hear about the next Rise. The dates are going to be announced very soon, but there's going to be a twist in this one, and we're only going to share that because we like to keep things as a mystery. I am so grateful for you to make time to come to
thank you.
Rise, the Rise podcast. It's amazing for me to see how effortlessly things are said, conveyed when you truly believe who you are.
Absolutely.
And that's what the world needs more of. That's what Rise is about, embracing that innocence and coming out with the wisdom that you need to navigate this thing we call life.
Thank you.
So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to work with you closely in the future.
Thank you. I mean, just to, on an end note, when you said effortless, it takes me back to, I don't know which actor said it, that an overnight success is 10 years of hard work. So if anything has to be effortless, it's a lot of work that goes behind the shadows. So I think, that's what it is. We have to keep beating on our craft. Yeah. So thank you for having me.
Pleasure's all mine. It's always amazingly inspiring for me to meet people like yourself, because if we learn from each other, I think we're all about showing us a mirror of who we are.
Absolutely.
So it wasn't for your ego. It was actually to tell you who you are. So thank you so much for taking time.
Thank you, Amit.
And let's see how this goes. This is an amazing journey.
This is the first of many.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Take care.